I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
DJ and PK, we are joined now by Jeremy Branham, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston. Houston is coming off a 10-3 season. They've got their quarterback back. They got the coach back. They've got very high hopes. Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning.
Jeremy,
you guys are doing well.
We are doing well. Did I underestimate the enthusiasm for Houston Cougar football this year?
No, I don't think you underrated it. Everybody's excited. You know, it's been a little while since Houston was, I would consider them, a contender at the top of their league. Yet last year they kind of proved a lot of doubters wrong, certainly had more wins than many anticipated them having. And they returned a good chunk of the players that won 10 games last year. So, no, I don't think you undersold it at all.
One guy that I'm extremely intrigued about is this running back, Hughes. Now, he was at Oregon, but before that, he was at Tulane, and he ran for, I think it's about 1,400 yards each season at Tulane. And it just so happens that his coach at Tulane is the coach at Houston. So he comes in my mind, as somebody to watch. What are expectations for him?
Yeah, I think probably what he did at Tulane, not necessarily in terms of the volume of stats. I don't think anybody's, hey, you got to run for 1,400 yards this year, but just to be the bell cow, to be the guy, to be RB1. You look at the numbers that he had at Tulane, and you would expect him to do that at Houston. But then you throw in the caveat that you mentioned that his head coach was Willie Fritz, and Willie really wanted him when he entered the portal. So he co-signs, the name, So he co-signs Mekhi Hughes to come into Houston and to be the number one guy. So I think that there's a lot of expectation for him. I think there's a lot of excitement for him. Grass isn't always greener, right? Didn't have the best year at Oregon. Oregon's got a stable of running backs that are all very good, had trouble getting on the field. But I think he's going to have a big bounce back year. And if Willie wanted him back, then he's a really good football player.
So if you got a running back that the coach really believes in, you got a quarterback everybody believes in with over 1,500 snaps of experience. Tell me how good the O-line is, good enough that they held some out, Shadre Hurst at least, maybe somebody else too, out of the spring game. So even though when you read the reports that it was kind of hit and miss with the O-line, well, it wasn't the first string O-line completely. How good is that O-line? How much depth is there? Because with really good quarterback and running back play, this offense could be flying.
Yeah, this will be the second year in a row that Houston is relying on the transfer portal to beef up their offensive line. You can look at that a couple of different ways. You'd like to build up that depth. You'd like to have the development on the offensive line. The other way you can look at it is you have a coaching staff that is good at evaluating that can go into the portal and patch together a pretty good O-line. You mentioned Hurst, who you look at a bunch of the different rankings of top transfers in the portal this past season, and Hurst is one of the top offensive linemen. So that was a big get. Ebiselli, you bring him back after he had a bit of an injury. Agnello and the interior offensive line is a guy that actually played a good amount last year on the offensive line for Houston. So it's a matter of evaluating the talent in the portal. Maybe I'm a bit of a homer. Maybe I have Cougar goggles, but Fritz has always been good at evaluating talent, especially in the portal, that they have college tape on. So it's a talented offensive line. It might be one of the more talented offensive lines they've had in a while. But anytime you're putting together a bunch of new faces, and that offensive line's about cohesion, it's a unit. It's a fist, not 5 individual fingers. You always have to worry a bit about how they're going to come together. But they're very talented. I think it's a talented group.
Defensively, tell us about linebacker Siona Fotu, who is from Salt Lake, played high school ball here, was at Utah for a bit, and is now with the Cougars.
Yeah, great story. Great kid. I do the Willie Fritz coaches shows as well, and we had him on as a guest last year. Just I think he wins fans over anytime that he speaks. He's got a great background. His story's phenomenal, and he's just a really good football player. Hard-nosed. He's always in the right spot. Is he going to be a top 3-round NFL draft pick? No. But is he that guy that you're going to count on in the middle of your defense week in, week out? Yeah. So he's just incredibly solid, a really nice piece to this defense that took a step up last year. And, being in his second year in the program, I would expect some more growth from him.
I would think that with first off, so many people in Houston and so much talent in Houston, that I would expect there's a heavy Texas flavor to this roster. But I start looking, and there's multiple. Louisiana, lots of kids from Alabama. They are cast. And then there are a ton of Texans, but Florida, and actually 2 kids from Utah, at least 2, maybe there's more, but I've seen 2 from Utah. So are they really building this as a hometown team, or you don't dare do that because Houston's so over-recruited?
No, I think they're trying to make it a hometown team, but you can't ignore everybody else, right? Especially in the era of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Last year, I don't know if it's still the case. I would imagine it still is, but Willie would talk a lot about how ever since he took the Houston job, he hasn't had to jump on a plane to go recruit. And you can drive to Louisiana, maybe Alabama, but with the portal, you're not really, if a guy's a junior in the transfer portal, you're not going out to watch him.
Right.
You're watching his college tape, you're watching him on film. So no, there's a heavy emphasis on local players, and Willie would tell you that he still wants to build. He believes in high school recruiting. He believes in the development. He believes in that setting the foundation of his program. But you do need to fill holes. You can't ignore the portal in today's day and age of college football. So if they feel like they need a starter at position XYZ, he's going to go find a starter at position XYZ. But he totally believes in the foundation of the Houston Cougar football program being built by high school recruits in the area, specifically Houston. They recruit Louisiana well because he's had great ties in Louisiana, dating back to his Tulane days. So he believes in the local kid, and he believes in the development of the local kid, while also not ignoring that he needs to go out and find talent in the portal if it exists. So he believes in the hometown and in the homegrown player, which I think a lot of people in the program love because they've always – you ask Houston fans, build a wall around Houston, and we could be great, which is true. But it goes back to your other point too about how it's a very recruited area.
Well, you speak of filling holes. It looks like they could have up to probably 5 transfers starting on defense, a couple up front, defensive line, and then on the back end, Jalen Mayo and Javion White. I'm assuming those guys come in and fill legitimate needs for the Cougars.
Yeah, especially at corner. You lose your McCutcheon last year was their best corner. You lose a couple of pieces in the depth there as well. So Mayo is kind of looked at as to be the McCutcheon replacement. Willie hired the corners back coach from Texas State where Mayo was at. So he brought him over with him, and then Mayo entered the portal and then came over, wanted to try his hand at playing a little higher level football. I said Texas State. It was Stephen F. Austin. Pardon me there on the Mayo and the coach. But, no, it goes back to the evaluating the player, right? Yeah, I think that's what the transfer portal has kind of turned into is, you can bring in a collection of players, but if you miss the assessment and you miss the scout on the player, then you're probably wasting a scholarship. So if you can hit – more than you miss, obviously you have a better chance of being good in the portal. Willie was good at it last year. You brought up Wigman a little bit earlier. Several other players. Amare was really good, brought him in for the portal. So it's about evaluating the right guys that are going to fit your system. There's always going to be a little bit of the unknown. It's always going to be a kind of a wild card, right? We really like what we see from this kid. We get a good impression from this kid. You vet it the best you can. But you never truly know. So it comes down to the coach's evaluation of the player. I think Willie's really good at it. Mayo's drawing really good reviews. There's a couple other transfers that will be key contributors, like you mentioned, on this team. It kind of all play out.
One of the transfers, and I don't know how much competition he has, is Evan Noel, the kicker. I mentioned 6-1 in one-score games, so the kicking game figures prominently. And Noel transferring in from Florida. Yeah, no, Willie's a special teams guy. He puts a major emphasis
on the third phase of the game. He thinks that's very important. It is, right? I mean, how many? You mentioned the one-score games. The punting side of things can flip the field. The return side of things can totally change your average field position for a game. And Fritz is, he's into the weeds about all the numbers too. If he can start 5 yards better in his average field position, he's going to do everything in his power to get it done. He is pretty meticulous and about putting his team in the best position to give him the best odds of having a scoring drive. So he's a big believer in the kicking game. It's something he takes very seriously. If he put emphasis on a kid to bring him in, he values the guy. I know there's a Houston kicker on the team too that they brought in from the high school ranks. He's been in the program a couple of years now. That probably will compete. But I imagine too that Noel will probably be the guy.
The quarterback, I think one of the keys to success on your team is look how many games your starting quarterback starts, and he started every one of them, right? And I think that makes a difference. And I got to admit, I wasn't sure what to expect, but he had a very nice season. I'm thinking though that was obviously last year, and now he should be able to up his game there. How much more is expected of Weigman?
I think that's a fair assessment of him coming to Houston, and I think a lot of the fans didn't really know what to expect either. And they knew him well. Weigman's a Houston kid, went to high school in the Houston area. He didn't go too far at his first college stop. They're in College Station. That's an hour and a half away from Houston. So people were aware of his collegiate career and kind of, the ups and downs at A&M, where he had some flashes. He showed some things. But none of those 3 years he was there, I don't think you would, there's nothing really to write home about. So they knew he was incredibly talented, 5-star kid, oozes potential. Can he put it all together? Also had some injury concerns at Texas A&M. So can he stay healthy? I think was a fair question going into last year. And he answered them all. It was really solid, really solid. And kind of like we were talking earlier, I don't think he's going to be a top 3-round pick in the NFL, but a really good college quarterback. Knows how to run an offense, knows where to put the ball, had some good targets last year. I think he'll have some good targets again this year. I think you hit it right on the head with the experience thing. I think experience is vital for that position, especially playing Power 4 football. And you hear more of these NFL teams, too, that they want to draft these college kids that have played a lot of games because they feel they're more ready, no matter what their potential is or their talent is. So, his growth, I think he's playing pretty close to his ceiling. I think that he can cut down the turnovers maybe a little bit. I don't think that Houston wants to, be a team that, they're not the air raid. They're not going to run 100 plays a game. They believe in controlling the game. They believe in, managing the game. So I don't know if the numbers will look better, but I think, watching him run the offense could look a little bit smoother, although it was pretty smooth a year ago.
Jeremy Branham joining us, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston. You talk about having some good targets. I'm always surprised at how many programs don't seem to really value and recruit tight ends. A major matchup problem when you get the right guy, and a receiver who's right in a quarterback's face, usually easier throws. They tend to be big targets. Patrick Overmeyer transferring in from UTSA, 6'5", 230. I'm not sure how he would have been overlooked and why someone like that, if he's really good, wouldn't have been in the Big 12 in the first place. Maybe he's a late bloomer or whatever. Does he just look great out there in spring drills? Do you think there's really something to him?
Yeah, I think there's something there. I think he uses a lot of potential. He was a bit of a late bloomer. And I think he played receiver even in high school, if I remember reading correctly, and then kind of grew into the tight end position. Redshirted his first year at UTSA, still putting on muscle and growth. But Houston had a great tight end last year, and Tanner Koziel, as y'all know, led the team in catches, draft pick by Jacksonville. Houston does believe in the tight end, so you and Willie Fritz have the same mindset when it comes to that. Plus, you'll see Houston run some 12 personnel. They'll do some double tight end stuff. So they do value the tight end, and I completely agree with you. I think the tight end can be a quarterback's best friend. And Willie loves the size of that position too. But you saw that with Koziel. You'll see that again with Overmeyer. Overmeyer's best football is in front of him. 6'5", 230. He's a Houston kid as well. So, another Houston guy coming back home. But the thoughts on him is that he looks a lot like Koziel. What I've read and what I've heard about him is that he looks a lot like Koziel. He hasn't had the production of Koziel. Maybe it wasn't a tight end friendly offense at UTSA. Don't watch a ton of Roadrunner football, but they think that he can. I don't think he's going to have the year that Koziel had. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think it'd be tough for Overmeyer, whose career high in catches is 30-ish with 350 yards, to put up a 74 catch season. But I think he's going to be the bona fide tight end number one for Houston and take a huge step forward.
Tell us about this hotshot quarterback freshman who came on campus early, played well in the spring game. I think some people say he might be the number one freshman coming in at quarterback, and I don't know how much time he'll get this year, but seems like next year would be his time. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him with 4-game rule where you can play in now in college football and still preserve a red shirt. I imagine we'll see him some. Do we see him in more than 4 games? I don't know. I'm very intrigued to see how they deploy him, and a lot of that will depend on the health of Connor Wigman as well. If Wigman gets hurt and has to miss a month, well, then Henderson's more than likely going to be your starter. But if Wigman stays healthy, I imagine they would like to preserve that redshirt year. We'll see. But, yeah, it depends on which recruiting rankings you would look at. Some rankings had him as the number one recruit in all of college football, top quarterback in college football. Early in his high school career, and he went to high school here in the Houston area too. He was coached by Michael Bishop, who Willie Fritz coached in JUCO and won a junior college national championship with. So that's kind of the tie there between the Houston program and Keyshawn Henderson. But a dual threat guy early in his high school career. He probably wasn't respected as much for his arm. And then in his last couple of years in high school, everybody started to fall in love with his arm. Uber talented, can run. He's got a cannon for an arm. Needs the experience like we talked about earlier, needs the feel for the game. But no, he's a guy where he's got all the potential in the world.
Everyone, when they talk about the whole Sorsby situation at Texas Tech and Hammond getting healthy, points to Game 3, the conference opener, Houston at Texas Tech. How much anticipation is there for that game in Houston, and how much are people going nuts over the quarterback situation at Texas Tech?
Yeah, from the fan base, they're paying attention to it. I think the walls of the athletic office, they're worried about them. But from the fan base's perspective, it's fueling the fire. Tech and Houston has kind of become a pretty bitter rivalry over the years. You have the history, back in the day in the Southwest Conference. Tech and Houston would play some out-of-conference games too before Houston's arrival in the Big 12. So it kind of kept the rivalry alive. And then once Houston joined the Big 12, it's kind of made it a natural rivalry across pretty much every sport. Tech has had the best of Houston when it comes to football. So Houston, desperately wants to beat the Red Raiders. How could you not? And then Texas Tech, they look down at Houston. They're not at our level. So it's just the natural fun rivalry of college athletics that really goes across all the sports. So now you see some of the stuff where the fan bases mock each other for whatever it is, and certainly Sorsby's dominating the news cycle right now, and the rivalry between Houston and Texas Tech.
How much is there, and I'm sure this is, again, the coaches would never speak to this, but the fact that Houston doesn't play TCU, doesn't play Arizona, doesn't play Arizona State. It's really at Texas Tech and at Utah. Those are 2 big games, but the other 7 are manageable, and then if they get even one of the other 2 games, they're in the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, that's probably, you're right. It's probably more of the fan base conversation.
Don't play BYU either, yeah.
Yeah, I think I think the Big 12 is an underrated league where I think there's pretty good depth across the board, and you see some teams like Houston last year that was, a 4-win team the year prior, and then all of a sudden they win 10 games. I think you could see that from a bunch of different teams around the Big 12. What does Oklahoma State look with their first-year head coach? Does Aranda get a little bit of a bounce back at Baylor? Rich Rod in year 2. Deion's all wild card. Cincinnati's been a team that can win at a high level. Kansas State can be solid. UCF can be really good at times. So I don't really buy into a whole lot to the preseason strength of schedule, just because you have, especially now, especially with the transfer portal where you can get good overnight. I don't put a whole lot of stock in this team, their schedule in 2025 had this win percentage. That could flip upside down in 2026. So I don't personally put a whole lot of stock in that. I think from a fan base perspective, you probably do have some of that. Hey, get by this game, and then we're here, and then that gives us a chance to be here. I think that there's a lot of quality coaches in the Big 12 that can flip a lot of their programs, like I said, overnight.
All right. We appreciate the time. Jeremy, thanks for joining us and spelling out what you see with Houston Cougar football. We appreciate it.
You got it. You guys have a good summer.
All right, there's Jeremy, Cougar football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston.
Who got them in the title game?
That's a pretty soft schedule, don't you think?
Yeah.
They don't play BYU.
They won 2 games last year against teams with winning records.
And they have to play 2 teams with winning records this year.
And they beat Oregon State in overtime.
Overtime, yeah. And they were 6-1 in close games. It could all fall apart for sure.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit here.
But do they get to backdoor it by playing the bottom half of the league? They got to play Tech and Utah, but they miss BYU, they miss Arizona, they miss ASU, they miss TCU.
ASU
pretty soft.
returns 2 starters,
and they have a good coach and a good program. I would rather play Colorado than ASU.
2.
Yeah.
2.
2
starters.
Transfer portal enables you to 2
starters.
Transfer portal enables you to cover that up.
1, 2.
You think ASU's going to be a punching bag this year?
I wouldn't highlight. Oh my gosh, they don't have to play ASU. And I pumped the brakes on that a little bit. Their best win was by 3 points against Arizona, and that's a nice win.
It is a nice win. And they had a lot of close wins, and that may all snap back on them, and they might be 5-7 this year. I get
just
it.
Take it easy a little bit here.
But this has been a league where teams have been picked to be bad and have gone 6-3 or 7-2.
And there's teams that have been picked to be good and have gone bad.
Yes.
Your serve.
And maybe it'll be Houston. That was a bunch of close wins. You don't tend to sustain that all the time. We just saw that with the Chiefs. 2 years ago, they won a bunch of close games. And last year, everything seemed to break against them. They had a losing season that nobody would have predicted. It is the nature of the sport. But optimism, spring, and hope in spring. You love baseball analogies. And college football is the same. It's like Major League Baseball. Spring training, there's hope for everybody. Spring football.
There was not hope for the Colorado Rockies in spring training.
The Rockies.
There was not.
Disaster.
There was little hope for the San Francisco
And you don't think
Giants.
there's any hope for the Colorado Buffaloes?
They don't have a baseball program.
In football, drawing the baseball football analogy. I know they don't have a baseball program. They don't have softball either.
Can we just go back to saying 2?
2?
Dose?
I don't think there's any hope for Colorado. In terms of
Colorado football.
What's hope?
Going to conference title game.
Oh, no.
I mean, that's what we were just talking
but
about.
That's not their hope.
How much hope do you have for them going 7-5?
Colorado?
Colorado.
I don't think it's out of the realm. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's various levels of hope depending on who you are. BYU, we're not talking about making a bowl game here.
No, we're not. No, BYU and Texas Tech, like we were talking about, they're not going to do the media poll, but if they did do the media poll at the Big 12 Media Day, I would expect BYU and Texas Tech would be heavy favorites, given who they have back, given what they did in the offseason, given what they did a year ago. It'd be really surprising. And the other teams will get shown the love. You're right, Arizona's got their QB back.
Yuck, how many starters does BYU have back?
Jeez, putting me on the spot here. See,
the number that came to mind, and I don't know, the number that came to mind was like 14 or 15.
9 on defense.
9 on defense.
Yeah.
That means they lost 2 starters. We're back to the number 2.
Dose. How many starters? Dose.
DJ, I think you actually know. I think we got 14 back overall.
I read it somewhere.
On defense. Devils only have 2 returning the whole team.
Or in Chinese, as they say, R.
I didn't know that, but thank you. I was actually trying to think French.
We're
and I
just
couldn't
going
even do
with
that.
2 across the board.
As in Irish, they say 2.
All right. When we come back, everything you missed in this show next. Stay with us.
Welcome to This is Jay Scott and Ben Anderson.
Covers the Grizzlies for the Daily Memphian. He's Drew Hill.
I know there are differences in Memphis between regular season Jaren and playoff Jaren. And what did Grizzlies fans see from Jaren in the biggest games in the playoffs?
I thought it was a great trade for the Jazz. Jaren was not only one of the best players on the Grizzlies, but was also just one of the best people in the locker room. Like, the leadership skills were there for sure. He's going to have games where he's awesome, and then he's going to have some of these games in the playoffs where he's going to leave a little bit to be desired. The Grizzlies thought that they had a player that might be capable of being a number 1 on a playoff team, and I don't think he quite got to that point for them where they could trust that he was dependable enough in the postseason that you could sit back, give him the ball late in games, and he'd be able to get you bucket. It never really transpired that way.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
I double down on this. Just like Becky Hammond said, prove me wrong. Absolutely double down. Getting out of the East has never been a surefire to win in a championship. What y'all talking about? You get out of the East, you're supposed to get out of the East. It's the East. Of course you're supposed to get out of the East. That don't just mean you win a championship because you get out of the East. It's the East. Great. It's the East. We beat up Boston. You should get out the East. Happy for Mike Brown, by the way, but you should get out of the East.
It is time for the Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. That's Draymond Green.
You get out of the East. You're supposed to get out of the East. You get out of the East.
The Eastern
If I was on Sirius Radio, I'd swear like he did.
The Celtics did win 2 years ago.
Oh, they did. That's a fact.
The Bucks won 5 years ago.
Okay, who won 4 years ago? Who won 3 years ago? Don't leave us hanging.
The East has won 3 of the last 7 and 4 of the last 10.
Which means jack squat tonight.
They are the weaker conference, but it is not impossible for them to win.
Wow, the rallying cry is prove Becky wrong.
There it is. Jalen Brunson, 6'2" guy.
How dare she dismiss Jalen Brunson, Becky Hammond, of all people. I believed in Becky Hammond.
And she's got 40 or 50 years of basketball history on her side, and she's probably got about 100 other great basketball minds who think that exact thing.
Becky Hammond was a freshman.
At CSU?
Yes, and I saw her make a move at the conference tournament. I still remember it. I remember what basket, and ooh, this young gal's
pretty
a
slick,
player.
huh?
Yeah,
pretty slick.
I remember sitting in that gym. They may have been playing BYU Utah. Maybe I was covering it, or I was just there. But I saw her make a move as a freshman. Okay, she can play, and turns out now. And I wouldn't prove Becky wrong. They asked her a question. She gave an opinion. I'm never going to knock anybody for giving him. She could have just said, well, he's a very nice player, and we'll see what happens. No, she put herself out there. Yeah. So I appreciate it. And then I saw over the weekend she was complaining about foul disparity and used 2 swear words back to back. Did you see that, Yak? Holy freak. I didn't know they talk like that from the Dakotas.
I think the Dakotas are just fine.
Jeez. Over there in Las Vegas, man, you could tell somebody's got a little credibility to be able to say that.
All right.
She is the highest paid coach in the WNBA, if I'm not mistaken.
It's just simply the W.
Oh, sorry, the W.
We need more letters. You only got 26 letters. We got to talk about more than 26 things. You need more letters.
So with that in mind, we shall see, man. I can see it now, hoisting the trophy. Beep you, bleep you, Hammond.
That would be awesome. If I were Becky, I'd stand up and take a bow. Like, sweet, I elevated myself above all these other people who got the exact same thing but didn't say it.
San Antonio, no less.
Ooh, she's got ties there. You know who I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
She's on the staff there under Popovich.
Well, did she play there? Was that the franchise that was ultimately
the Utah
here?
franchise moved to San Antonio.
Did they move directly there?
Yeah, they went right to San Antonio, which are now the Las Vegas Aces.
Right. Yeah.
Game 1 tonight, 6:30. Can Wemby be slowed down?
Yeah.
Dramatic?
Let's get him some women in San Antonio because women weaken knees.
Rocky. I knew that was a movie line.
Thanks, Mick.
Struggled there for a second.
Oh, is Mick? I always thought it was Mick Jagger.
No, it's Mick.
Cut me, Mick. OG Anunoby, second team All-NBA. Turns out for people who've guarded Wemby for 100 possessions or more, he's had the most success defending him. And Wemby's productivity has been very different in the playoff wins versus the playoff losses. 28 points, 12 boards in the wins, 14 and 8 in the losses.
OG Anunoby was second team All-NBA?
All-NBA defense. All-NBA defensive team. And he shot 55% from the floor and 46% from the three-point line in the wins. Those numbers dropped to 39 and 18 in the losses.
So
Keep
it's all
an eye on
numbers.
Wemby.
Just look at the stats, man.
Keep an eye on Wemby.
No, don't watch the friggin' game. Just look at the stats.
I think you should probably watch the game. That tends to be where the fun is. But if he starts off cold, it's usually a sign.
But, Mama, that's where the fun is.
Mitchell Robinson, Knicks center, undergoing surgery on the broken right pinky finger, is officially questionable to play tonight. Has that been updated, Doc?
Oh, he's going to play. Get out of town.
I've not seen an update on that.
I broke my
put
pinky
the finger in a brace.
here. See it?
Yep.
I never even went and got it checked. Finally, after about a year, he says, well, you should have come in way earlier. You're just going to have to live with that. I dropped a weight on it.
Ooh.
Yeah. You know me and the weights. I can't get enough.
Hockey. The Vegas Golden Knights win Game 1. Down 2-0 in the middle of the first period. They rally and win 5-4. They beat Carolina. Game 2 tomorrow night. They score the game winner about 3 minutes to go. Don't hurdle with the goal that wins it. We had on Greg Wyshynski. You love that because he's from Jersey.
He is.
Senior NHL writer at ESPN. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. Your takeaways listening to him. I mean, we watched the NBA Finals through the prism of the Jazz. We're going to watch the Stanley Cup through the prism of your Utah Mammoth.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That was a great game. I like scoring, and I like clutch play. And it's funny though because, you're watching that game, and obviously they get out to the lead right off the bat, blah blah blah, and Vegas does come back. But as it got down to like 5 minutes to go, I just felt it's weird, but I felt like
Vegas, they're
going to find it when they got a nifty pass and Hurdle puts it in there, and then Hart makes a nice save with the big glove. It catches it, goes up in the air, and snatches it back down, and you could almost feel like he just went, whew. On that.
As Greg said, he did not have a great night. He let in some of those goals a little on the soft side. And he'd really been good late in the Western Conference playoffs, not so much in the first round against the Mammoth. He let in a lot of goals there. But he'd really been strong in these last two rounds. So, yeah, I can totally see why you get that read off the body language. He didn't think he'd be giving up 4 goals, and he definitely wanted some of them back. But he made the save he had to make for them to get the win. They could only be up 1-0 now, and they are. No style points.
Yeah, we'll see what that means. I mean, he had, I read Greg's story, and he had the 75% if you win game 1. But that means 25%.
25% chance you still don't win the thing.
Yeah.
You got him going on momentum. I just wonder in this, I mean, obviously Carolina has it because they're 12-1 in the playoffs and giving up like a goal and a half a game. So they had it, and they had the 2-0 lead. But Vegas had a fair amount of momentum. I mean, sweeping Colorado, and they've won Let's see, what would it be? They were 8-2, so they've won 11 of 13 of the last 13 playoff games because they were down 2-1 to the Mammoth and won 3 straight. And they had 3 key OT wins. I mean, you give up that deflected goal or whatever in OT, you could lose a game, lose a series, and you could probably say that both about the Utah and the Anaheim series because I think that was 2-2 in Game 5 when OT.
That's why I'm not sure there is such a thing as momentum to the level that it compares in other sports, particularly in the playoffs. I don't know that we've seen momentum, like the Knicks. They're down big in Game 1 against the Cavs, and you could just see it building and building and building. You think they're going to do this, but I don't know that you can really see that in hockey. And I'm not even close to the hockey expert.
But you had the feeling they were going to do it.
At that point, you're right. Once it was like 5 minutes under. But I didn't have that feeling the whole time.
But Carolina scored with like 8 minutes to go to tie it up. And Carolina fought back.
I know. But I just felt like Vegas was going to do it.
When Vegas went up 3-2 and 4-3, both times I thought, okay, here they're rolling now, they're flying, and sure enough, Carolina fights back.
It just seemed like Vegas at the last 5 minutes were in better attack mode.
Yeah, I can see that. Anything else you want to tell the people? Poor Joe Adele had the Jose Canseco moment. Ball off the glove, off his head, over the wall.
I think it was a worse moment.
Because?
Because he's a better fielder.
Well, he is, for sure.
And he was, I think Canseco was sort of up against a wall.
He was running, Canseco was running more back towards the wall. It's a little disorienting. The ball's right over your head. So it seems like a tougher play. Whereas Adele had the angle and he was headed into the gap, which seems like it should be easier. Yeah. Now, granted, Trout was coming over, so maybe you worry a little bit. You take your eye off it to make sure you're not crashing into him because he'll wreck you.
But they're the Angels. What difference would it make?
They
sucked beyond belief.
It was an 8-2 game with the Angels and the Rockies.
You talk about spring training, having hope. The Angels didn't have it either.
Two worst organizations in baseball? You got to win when you want to put up there with them?
The Angels have just been an embarrassment.
For a long time. Ohtani couldn't wait to get out of there.
And it bugs me.
They should be better.
Yeah.
They got money. They're in Southern California.
Artie
How complicated is it?
Another guy from Tucson. You just can't trust
those guys. Can't trust guys from Tucson. No. Yak, what do you got?
So there was a game scheduled between NC State and Virginia to be played in Brazil to start this coming college football season. It has been relocated to Charlottesville, Virginia, due to unforeseen issues, apparently, with moving that game down.
Well, they couldn't see them. That's why. If they were seen, they would have known them and been able to correct them. But they were unforeseen, so you couldn't correct them. You can't correct something that's unforeseen.
Thank you, PK. But yeah, so
you know what I mean?
Your international plan for
you think that's funny when it happens to me? Now you're not so amused. What? Am I right? Thought you'd appreciate that.
Finally, somebody's getting it from PK rather than me.
Oh, that was a good one.
All right, we're going to take a break. Leave on a high note, Costanza. When we come back, your feedback next. We got more people with stories trying to top. Well, they're not trying to top, but at least pull up alongside that Paul McCartney story. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Questions of the day. Had a listener says he got paired with Paul McCartney for a few finishing holes golfing in Orlando several years ago. What is your best story? Darrow says, I met Bill Murray at a Salt Lake Trappers game.
Did he have ownership in that?
He did.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
James says, I met him too. And then they went on to win the championship that night. See, that's again proximity. He owns the team. He's around more. It's not totally random.
Oh, like the time I saw Sonny Bono in his restaurant in Palm Springs.
So you were at his restaurant, so the odds go way up.
Yes.
If you've been at Taco Bell down the street, that'd be more random.
Although the neighbor kid ran into Jimmy Butler at the Chick-fil-A over by Southtown.
That's random.
Yeah.
There you go.
And got his picture taken with him.
Jeff, when I was student teaching, my master teacher was out one day, and when I walked into the room one morning, Bruce Hardy, longtime Miami Dolphins tight end, was sitting there. He was a sub in the school district.
I like to think of him as former Arizona State quarterback / tight end.
Bruce Hardy.
Yes. Where was this? Locally?
He doesn't say. Where was Bruce Hardy from? Was he the
Bingham?
Kid from Bingham? Yeah. And he did the Sports Illustrated cover with the 2-lane road that's now probably got strip malls, but then it was just all wild grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is like, it looked like the middle of nowhere.
I remember him because he chose to play for Frank Cush. And then I think they moved him, and then he played tight end in the NFL.
Mike says, I worked at a video store downtown back in the 1990s. Carl Malone was a regular customer. One night, he asked to use the store phone to order a pizza from Pizza Hut that he could pick up in a few minutes. After the call ended, we told him we'd stop by his house after work for his pizza party. He asked if we wanted pizza too, held out his hand for the phone. He called Pizza Hut again and ordered us a pizza or two for us to be delivered at work. He was always a good time whenever he was in the store.
Okay. Get some videos.
That was back in the day. That's what we did, right?
Yeah,
No streaming then. Just go down to the video store, pick out a couple of, you ever seen this one?
Yeah.
That conversation over and over.
Pick up some jujubes and away you went.
Jujubes. Very specific. How can any right-thinking Jazz fan root for the Spurs to win another championship? Largely, people are rooting for the Knicks, I would say 2-1, and they are rooting for Jordan Clarkson. We're getting a lot of Jordan Clarkson comments.
And complete dismissal of Kelly Olynyk.
Yes. Kelly Olynyk is getting 0 references, but Clarkson's getting a ton of them. This is how I feel, Alan says, but my 16-year-old is cheering for them. He's not seen as much Jazz success in his lifetime, and to him the Spurs are young and exciting. But Alan's been around a while, and he is, as you say, how can any right-thinking Jazz fan root for the Spurs? Yeah, that's how he feels.
Right.
Not doing it. Aaron says, I guess in some way, if we have to beat down the Spurs in the coming years, it'd be nice to be the team that takes down the NBA World Champions. Well, on a personal level, of course, I want the Knicks to beat the Spurs like the mules they are. Oh,
it does look like that stuff is going to go through San Antonio.
Yeah, they may not win it, but you're going to have to beat them. They're not going to be an easy out.
Right.
Even if it gets
just like Oklahoma City was. They didn't win it, but they pushed the Western Conference 7 games. It's hard for me to say that. Well, this season was a failure. You didn't achieve your ultimate goal, obviously. But back to back, I mean, come on. How many times does that happen? It's hard.
I heard the stat. They are 71 and the Thunder went 71-14 against 28 NBA teams, and they went 4-8 against the Spurs.
You know, they're going to have to find a way to retool to beat them.
And that seems like the thing the Knicks are really up against. Is like this just seems like these are the two best teams in the league by a wide margin. And the Knicks better than the East by a wide margin. They've proven that.
Yeah, but everybody's been doubting the Knicks every step of the way, so why not one more?
True story. Nobody was sitting there saying they're about to win 11 in a row.
Right.
All right, we're all done. Coming up next, Scott Gerard, Tim Lacombe, Scotty G, and the coach. They're at Mountainless Supply today, the grand opening, Eagle Mountain, 766 East Split Rock Drive. They're next, right after the break on The Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, What's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.